what coffee brewer should you spend your hard-earned money on? Now, today, we have 5 coffee brewers in front of us, and we are gonna do some power ranking of these particular brewers. So, first up, the Chemex. Now, Chemex, classic brewer, great pour over, great if you're serving a lot of coffee, because obviously you can get these in up to 13 cup sizes, so you can make a lot of coffee at once. Now, pain in the ass with the Chemex. Number 1, cleaning it. If you have a glass handle like this, the whole thing can go in a dishwasher, it's not too bad. However, if you have the one with the wooden collar, the pretty one that everyone wants, that thing is a pain in the ass to clean. You have to undo the leather strapping, undo the handle, clean it all, put it back on. Can be a complete pain in the ass. Chemex is awesome though if you're brewing a lot of coffee, and you can get a great cup of coffee out of a Chemex. I will tell you though, it does require a bit of technique, a bit of kind of getting used to, and you do need a half decent grinder to get good coffee into your Chemex. Now, number 2, the AeroPress. Now, I will say this brewer is amazing for travel. It is very easy to use. There's a variety of different methods you can do. You can use it inverted, you can use it normal over the cup, and you can grind, depending on the technique you're using, pretty coarse with this, which means you don't necessarily need a super good grinder to get great results with your AeroPress. Now, some of the setbacks. Number 1, filters are a pain with this, the same way they are with Chemex. I mean, you have to get specific filters for this, and they're not always available depending on where you live. They can be a bit of a pain. Thank God for Amazon. And then the other setback with the AeroPress is this is pretty much good for 1 cup at a time. So if you're brewing for large numbers of people, or for even you and your spouse, this can kind of be a pain. Now, another pro, it is indestructible, whereas I have sold so many Chemexes to people simply because they've just had it on a drip tray, hit their drip tray, it falls off, smashes everywhere, and boom, you need a new, $60 Chemex. So, AeroPress, indestructible, great coffee, downsides being kind of only good for 1 cup at a time. Now, this is the Tricket. The Tricket is kind of like a big drip coffee machine, small drip coffee machine that you use a kettle with. Now, the nice thing about this is you don't need a gooseneck kettle. You don't need a fancy kettle. Coffee goes in here, water goes on top, it drips down, and it brews coffee. Once again, specific filters for it, relatively hard to find or more of a pain to find. And I don't think, in my opinion, this makes the best coffee simply because the holes create this like dripping, so you actually never get a direct stream on the bed of coffee. It's not great for making a cup of coffee. It is very easy to use and easy to clean, but the actual quality of the coffee, I don't know. Not great. Not great. So, these 2 guys, no gooseneck kettle required. You can use any kettle in your AeroPress and any kettle with Tricket. This guy, you will need a gooseneck kettle probably, or something to manipulate water with if you want to have really great results. Now we're on to the classic V60. This is an incredible brewer because it's cheap. Once again, filters kind of specific, and these things are indestructible. This is the plastic one. You can't break this thing if you tried, and you can throw the whole thing in the dishwasher. The V60 is such a great pour over brewer, and they have a few different sizes. So the O2, pretty good for like 2 cups at a time. I believe you can get an O3, which is a bit bigger if you're looking for larger quantities. It's not going to be as much coffee. You're not going to be able to make as much coffee as something like, with the Chemex, but V60 is amazing. There's plenty of tutorial videos out there. You will need a gooseneck kettle with this, but here you got something that's really affordable, produces incredible coffee. There's so many resources for it, and overall, just a great brewer. And last but not least, we have the Clever Dripper. Clever Dripper is a steep and release brewer. So once again, you do not need a fancy grinder. You can grind pretty coarse because you can control the brew time simply by controlling when you release the valve at the bottom that lets the water come through. So it's kind of like a French press with a paper filter in the sense that you have the steeping aspect of it, but you're not going to get any of the sediment you're going to get with something like a French press. Once again, these filters are more available. There are some grocery store filters that will fit this device quite well, and the coffee that comes out of here is incredible. You can do a really great job of making kind of a very strong, full-bodied coffee, something like a French press. But like I said, you avoid all of that sediment and anything that maybe you get more commonly with a French press. So, what is my favorite brewer out of these? That's tough. I will say, not a big fan of the Tricket just because the actual coffee it makes, in my opinion, isn't great. So we're going to put that one over there. Chemex is a great brewer. I personally just am not crazy about the whole maintenance of a Chemex and the filters. Sometimes, you know, there was like a shortage of Chemex filters during the pandemic. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's cool. I don't know. For me, the Chemex, I'm going to put it in 4th place here. Now, in 3rd place, I'm going to put the Clever Dripper. This guy makes amazing coffee. It's just, for me, it leaves a little bit to be desired. It's kind of like a very passive experience, which is awesome. If you're busy in the morning, then this guy would be like number 1 because it's very easy to make coffee. Just for me, it's a bit of a passive experience. You pour the water in and then you just kind of like sit around and wait. I don't know. I want to feel useful, you know? Sometimes I don't feel useful in life. Okay, and then number 2, I'm going to go with the AeroPress. Simply because the AeroPress is just an amazing device, brews incredible coffee. The only downside is, for example, if I have to make coffee for someone else in the morning, to make coffee for my girlfriend, this just doesn't really work that well. Because then I'm like, I got to make one and then go through the whole process again, set it up again. I don't know, it's kind of a pain. Kind of a pain in the morning. But if it's just me, AeroPress is great, especially if I just want to have 1 cup. But the winner of this little showdown, once again, this is just my opinion, guys, is the V60. I mean, this thing is just so good, so versatile, so easy to clean and use. I love my V60 for pour over coffee in the morning. It's the absolute best. And yeah, guys, honestly, shout out to the V60. Now, once again, I mentioned a couple things in the video that I just want to talk about briefly. I mentioned grinders. So whenever you're doing something that's more of an immersion style brewer, which means French press, Clever Dripper, anything that has kind of like a steep and release, even if you do the inverted method for an AeroPress, you can grind coffee a lot coarser, and whenever you can grind coarser, you can just get away with a bit more of like a affordable, cheaper grinder. It's just easier to get coarsely ground coffee uniform from a cheaper grinder, right? You can do that pretty easily with a cheap grinder. Whereas Chemex, V60, it can be a little fussy, so you can find yourself wanting to spend a bit more on the grinder, which is obviously, you know, an added cost when you're thinking about your little home setup. The other thing to consider is kettles, right? So when we're talking about a gooseneck kettle, you're gonna need that for kind of any pour over device. So like, you know, a Chemex or a V60 or a Kalita Wave, you're gonna need your gooseneck kettle in that situation, and those can be expensive again. Now, luckily, there is actually, Walmart has like a Hamilton Beach brand kettle that's awesome, and it's like $40, and if you just need boiling hot water with a gooseneck, it's a great budget-friendly piece that I have one over here. They're awesome. And then, yeah, so that's the other thing to consider, whereas these other devices, you don't need a special kettle. Like any device that creates boiling hot water will work. So guys, this is just my opinion on these brewers. Hopefully it gives you some insight into, you know, maybe which one you should buy or maybe which one's gonna work the best for you at home. So just a quick little video for you, and I will see you next time.